The world of professional sport is often portrayed as a clean arena of skill, dedication, and fair competition. Yet beneath that glittering surface, an explosive scandal is now tearing through one of its most powerful leagues, the NBA. Imagine for a moment that the game you love, the game you believe in, is not as honest as it seems. Imagine that the people you cheer for, the stars, the coaches, even the legends, are secretly part of a massive web of deceit involving mafia networks, insider gambling, and high-tech poker scams. That is exactly what's happening right now. In late October 2025, the FBI announced a series of stunning arrests, over 30 people across multiple states, all tied to an illegal gambling and mafia-backed poker network that has infiltrated the NBA. Among those arrested are current NBA coach Chauncey Billups, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, and a network stretching into the infamous Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucci's mafia families. What investigators discovered is a mix of insider betting, rigged poker games, and organized crime operating hand in hand. The first part of the scandal involves insider sports betting. Prosecutors say that confidential information from inside NBA locker rooms, details about player injuries, who would sit out, who would play reduced minutes, was being leaked to betting rings. Armed with this non-public information, gamblers placed large bets that consistently paid off. These weren't random guesses. They were carefully timed, made just before the public knew about sudden changes. In some cases, even players themselves allegedly provided that inside data. Terry Rozier is at the center of that story. Authorities say he shared private information about his own playing status. Details that allowed gamblers to profit when he suddenly left a game early or played fewer minutes than expected. Those bets were perfectly placed, perfectly timed, and won big money. If proven true, it's not just a violation of league policy. It's a criminal act that undermines the very foundation of fair play. The second part of the scandal takes an even darker turn. Investigators uncovered a mafia-backed high-stakes poker ring operating in New York and Miami. Wealthy businessmen and celebrities were invited to these exclusive games, often enticed by the presence of NBA figures like Chauncey Billups. But the games were not fair. They were rigged using technology that sounds like it came straight out of a spy movie. Special contact lenses that allowed players to see hidden markings on cards, X-ray poker tables that could read deck layouts, and electronic card shufflers secretly modified to send signals to remote operators who knew which player had the best hand. These operators, often linked to organized crime, would then send covert signals. A scratch of the ear, a gesture, a word, to their insider at the table, telling them exactly when to bet big or fold. It was a perfect con, a blend of celebrity glamour, high-tech cheating, and old-school mafia tactics. Victims lost millions of dollars in what they thought were friendly poker games. But in reality, they were being robbed in plain sight. Billups, according to reports, wasn't just a passive participant. He allegedly acted as a face card, the celebrity who attracted wealthy marks to the game, making them feel safe and privileged to be sitting at a table with an NBA legend. His involvement gave the games legitimacy, and the victims never suspected they were being targeted. For the mafia, it was a win-win: easy access to high rollers and a famous cover to hide behind. The FBI investigation, which had been running quietly for more than 2 years, exposed how deep the connections between sports, crime, and technology have become. Agents tracked unusual betting patterns, wire transfers, and encrypted messages between gamblers and insiders. They followed the money trail, and it led straight into locker rooms, luxury hotels, and poker lounges. The result, a massive bust that has shaken the NBA's image to its core. Why is this scandal such a big deal? Because it strikes at the heart of what makes sports work. Trust. Fans believe the games they watch are real, that the outcomes are unpredictable, that effort and skill decide victory. When that trust breaks, everything else collapses. Sponsors hesitate, broadcasters panic, fans turn cynical. The NBA, one of the world's most influential sports brands, now faces an existential crisis of integrity. And the timing couldn't be worse. The league recently signed a record-breaking $76 billion global media deal, expanding its reach to new markets in Asia, Africa, and Europe. The NBA's global brand is built on entertainment, diversity, and authenticity. Now, this scandal risks shattering that image. The question being asked everywhere, from ESPN to Al Jazeera, is simple: can the NBA still be trusted? Let's look at the mechanics of the insider betting scheme. Federal prosecutors identified at least 7 games in which suspicious betting activity occurred. In each case, Large bets were placed within hours of a player being pulled from a lineup or limited by an unexpected injury. The pattern was too precise to be coincidence. Someone on the inside was leaking information before the public knew. These leaks, combined with the enormous sums of money involved, turned the gambling ring into one of the largest sports-related frauds in modern U.S. history. The poker side of the operation tells an equally shocking story. High-tech cheating devices were found in raids, including specially designed playing cards that could only be read with infrared lenses or contact lenses. Some games used chip trays embedded with sensors that could identify the cards placed on them. The data was transmitted wirelessly to a team of observers in another room, who then sent cues back to the players in on the scam. The victims didn't stand a chance. At the center of this web were traditional mafia families, criminal organizations with long histories in gambling, money laundering, and extortion. They saw opportunity in the growing sports betting boom across the United States. Since betting was legalized in many states, gambling has become a massive business. And wherever big money flows, organized crime is never far behind. What's new this time is how the mafia has evolved, embracing technology and exploiting celebrity culture to reach new victims. For the NBA, this isn't just about criminal charges. It's about survival. The league has already launched an internal review, suspended implicated players and staff, and promised full cooperation with the FBI. But public trust is fragile. Fans are demanding transparency. Sponsors are nervous. International partners are questioning whether the league can guarantee clean competition. The scandal also raises bigger questions about the sports betting industry itself. Over the past few years, betting companies have partnered directly with leagues and teams. Advertisements promote live betting during games, turning every moment into a gambling opportunity. But when players and insiders get involved, when secret information becomes currency, the line between legitimate business and corruption becomes dangerously thin. And then there's the cultural impact. For decades, professional athletes have been marketed as role models, symbols of discipline, hard work, and integrity. When figures like Billups and Rozier become the faces of scandal, it's not just a personal fall from grace. It's a public betrayal. It sends a message that fame and money can coexist with deceit, that even the most respected names can be corrupted. Behind all the headlines are real victims, not just the gamblers who lost millions at those rigged poker tables, but the fans who invested emotionally in a game they believed in. For them, this scandal is more than financial. It's emotional. It changes how they see the sport, how they trust the players, and how they view competition itself. From a geopolitical perspective, this story is also about how global crime networks operate. Organized crime no longer limits itself to smuggling or drug trafficking. It has diversified, moving into sports, cryptocurrency, and entertainment. It uses technology as a weapon and celebrities as shields. The NBA scandal is just one example of how criminal empires adapt, evolve, and exploit systems of trust in the digital age. The scandal is also a mirror for society's obsession with gambling and fame. As betting becomes more accessible, from phone apps to social media promotions, the temptation to cheat grows. The same systems that allow fans to feel closer to the game also allow criminals to manipulate it. This is the dark side of modern sports entertainment, a place where the pursuit of profit overrides the spirit of the game. What happens next? The FBI has indicated that the investigation is ongoing, with more arrests likely. Players and coaches face charges of wire fraud, illegal gambling, and money laundering. If convicted, they could face years in prison and permanent bans from professional sports. The NBA, meanwhile, is expected to tighten its internal monitoring systems, implement stricter background checks, and limit insider access to confidential data. But the damage has already been done. The public's faith has been shaken, perhaps permanently. The idea that even professional games might be manipulated leaves a sour taste. For the players who had nothing to do with this, the majority who work hard and play fair, it's an unfair stain on their reputation. For the league, it's a costly lesson about transparency and accountability. As this case unfolds, we will likely learn more about how widespread the problem is. Were more players involved? Were other sports affected? How deep do the mafia ties go? Every new revelation seems to pull another thread in a web that's larger than anyone imagined. For viewers, the takeaway is clear: when money, power, and secrecy mix, corruption follows. The NBA's gambling scandal isn't just a sports story. It's a story about how trust can be bought, sold, and destroyed, It's about the fragility of institutions that depend on belief. And it's about how technology, which once promised transparency, is now being weaponized for deception. In the end, this story is more than just headlines. It's a wake-up call, not just for basketball, but for every major sport and industry where integrity is the only thing standing between honor and chaos. The NBA may recover in time, but the scars will remain. The games may go on, but the innocence is gone. What's left now is the slow process of rebuilding trust, one honest game at a time. Because when the line between fair play and manipulation blurs, everyone loses. The players, the fans, and the spirit of the game itself.